from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, where they are busy as can be with Thanksgiving come right around the corner next week. Tommy will tell us all about it. On Sports Shorts today, we're going to talk a little bit about the quarterback carousel that is LSU. What a strange story it is. Max Johnson basically benched last week. Garrett Nussmeir plays because his daddy says we're good to not redshirt. Then after a so-so performance, maybe we should redshirt. Like, whoa. So we'll tell you about what's going on with LSU and who their backup quarterback's going to be, a non-scholarship backup quarterback. We'll get into that. Also, big game last night in NFL. Bill Belichick just proven what a great coach he is with a rookie quarterback, a true rookie quarterback. He's now won 5 in a row, and the Patriots are in the playoffs if the season were to end today. They knock off the Atlanta Falcons, who look terrible. It's even more disappointing that the Saints freaking lost to the Falcons last week. We'll get into that, or a week before. Also, the battle for the bell last night. Nichols knocks off Southeastern in an epic game. If you happen to watch it, it was a fantastic game. Came down to the end. We'll tell you about what happened at the end. It was exciting. And MVP awards in Major League Baseball. Ohtani in the AL, Harper for the second time in the NL. We'll dive into that as Harper did something that has not been done in Major League Baseball history in quite a long time. He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts. Hey, you know what? We've got a little we're going to be back right now because we've had a little technical problem with our commercial. But, of course, I'll tell you about LeBear's Casino. The sports book is open at LeBear's Casino 24 hours, 7 days a week. Tommy, they've got over 20 of the sports book machines on the casino floor. You don't have to ask for any help. You can go right up to them. They look like little ATM machines. You can place bets all day, every day. If you do want to go to, talk to someone at the sports book to place your bet at the window, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 11 on the weekends. We will be at Walk-Ons in Bruley this week, but we'll be back at LeBear's next week right outside their sports book. Tommy, what's going on with LSU football? I mean, the flip-flop that's happened at quarterback in the last week and a half is almost comical.
It is comical, and, in a way I get it because Coach Orgeron's trying to help the players, in this case, Garrett Nussmeir, as much as he can on his way out the door. But I don't know if it's the best decision for the team. I don't think you can find anybody that doesn't think Max Johnson should have went back in the game against Arkansas, to give him a better chance to win the game because Nussmeir is not ready. And then now Nussmeir says, no, I want to go ahead and redshirt. If he were to play in another game, he wouldn't be eligible for a redshirt. That redshirt rule changed a few years back. If you're playing more than 4 games, you're not eligible for a redshirt. So now he's going to do it, save himself a year of eligibility, whether that's at LSU or it's at another school. But it is comical. I mean, people have been laughing at LSU football for many weeks now, and this just adds to the laughter.
It made it seem as if Coach O was kind of taking orders. I don't say orders, but being influenced too heavily by the name on the back, Nussmeir and his dad and everything like that, saying, no, we want to play. We're not going to redshirt. And it's almost like he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, we'll give you the ball. I don't think there's really any difference between you and Max. You're both not playing great. So here, take it. And then you go out and play bad. And then you realize you want to go back to Johnson. I don't know if it's a saving face a little bit or what. It's just a bad look. Obviously, LSU has their backs against the wall, Tommy. They've got to win their last 2 games in order to be bowl eligible. It would be catastrophic for this program if they aren't bowl eligible. Now with not having Nussmeir available, if something were to happen to Max Johnson, puts you in a bad situation.
There you got a non-scholarship guy, Max O'Dowd, 6'2", 205, from Plantation, Florida. Went to that Stoneman Douglas High School where they unfortunately had that shooting years back. That's going to be the guy if something happens to Johnson. Little daddy ball going on with the quarterback situation at LSU. And what nobody's really talking about is how is this affecting Max Johnson? Is he one of the ones that's thinking this is a comedy? And does he get out of here after this year? He's going to wait to see who's named coach, but the optics aren't good. It's laughable. You used a good word. It's comical.
Yeah, I definitely think that, before anybody leaves, they're going to – unless there's just some They just absolutely hate it in Baton Rouge, or they don't like their roommate, or they broke up with their girlfriend, or they've got an opportunity elsewhere that they just want to go pursue. I think if you're somebody like a quarterback position, you've got to wait and see who the coach is going to be. You got to wait and see what the coordinator is going to be and all that before you can realistically make a decision. So I don't think I'd be stunned and shocked if you saw Max Johnson or Garrett Nussmeir hit the transfer portal prior to, the coaching thing being done. I know I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning on Sports Source Daily from 10 until noon. We'll be doing the show from Bruley Walk-Ons, but I know one of the things we'll talk about at 11 o'clock when you come on and join us is with Derry Beckwith. We each are going to have our 6 coaches, as far as ranking 1 through 6, who do we think is going to be the next coach at LSU? And obviously Lincoln Riley is the sexiest name, the biggest name that's out there right now, Tommy, that people are rumored about. If he gets the job, there's going to be a lot of optimism. If he ends up in Baton Rouge, there'll be a ton of optimism that the offense is going to be special based on the fact that he had, 3 Heisman Trophy winners in a row or something like that, two Heisman winners and a finalist in a row. But if it's Dave Aranda, let's say, or some defensive-minded coach, you're not going to know for a while until he names a coordinator what the offense is going to be. So depending on who the hire is initially, you might have to wait a little bit to find out what the future of LSU's offense looks like.
Yeah, lots of rumors. I get at least 1 or 2 texts every day from somebody that says, I heard this, I heard that. I'm like, let it play out. Scott Woodward's the only one that knows. I know it was leaked out the other day on Twitter that there was an 8-year, $96 million offer to Riley. And I looked it up. The people that posted that had 36 followers on Twitter. Okay, so I put clickbait. This is somebody just trying to grow their page, because number one, Scott Woodward has been extremely close to the vest. He's not, so there's no way no numbers leaked out, okay? So that was just somebody making stuff up, trying to, grow their Twitter page or their Twitter account. So you got to consider the source. And I know everybody's anxious. Everybody wants to know. We're going to have our list tomorrow morning for everybody. I already got my list made out. I was at the desk yesterday. I said, aha, let me make my list. So I made the list out, and we'll have fun with that. And I'm curious. I really think the next coach is going to be somewhere on my list. I might not have the correct order, but it's going to be somewhere on my list, I think. I didn't just pull 6 names out the air. I looked at it and observed it. We'll see. But, you just got to wait. I mean, it's like when Paul Maneri retired. You kept telling everybody, let it play out. Wait. We'll know when we know. Same thing here with football. And, in most people's eyes, football hire is a bigger hire than baseball. And I agree with that. Baseball is very important, and I think they hit it out the park with Jay Johnson, even though he hadn't coached a game yet. But football, trust Scott Woodward. I think he's going to do okay.
This is interesting, though, and this is partly I'm sure partly why the Lincoln Riley things are coming about. But Stephanie Remp is the executive deputy AD for LSU. She's also the COO of the athletic department. She is an Arizona graduate. She graduated early 90s from Arizona. But she is Scott Woodward's point on this, okay? Like, she is the one that, was behind the Jay Johnson hire, the Kim Mulkey hire. She's the one running point on the football hire. Now, obviously, Scott Woodward will sign off on it, and he'll have to agree. But Stephanie Remp is running point on this. Well, Stephanie Remp, Tommy, spent time in 2013 and 2018 at the University of Oklahoma. And so clearly she's got lines of communication to Lincoln Riley. She's got lines of communication, to have those conversations directly without having to go through people and all that sort of thing. So another reason why that has some legs. The other thing is, let's just look at it from a speculation standpoint. If you're Oklahoma and you're joining the SEC, when you're Oklahoma and you're in the Big 12, you are the big dog. I mean, you're it. Texas is number 2, and there's a gap between you and everybody else. Overall, as an athletic department, obviously, not as a football program, it's Oklahoma and then everybody else by a gap. But when Oklahoma immediately joins the SEC, and we expect that it could be as early as next year that they would be playing in the SEC in football, they are one of an upper tier of football team, but they're not, the king ding-a-ling right away. And they're looking around going, okay, and we don't know how the West is going to be split up. Are there going to be quadrants? Is it going to be an East and a West? But I mean, they're looking around going, we got to compete with A&M. We got to compete with Texas. We got to compete with LSU. We got to compete with Alabama. We got, just in their geographical, we got to compete with Arkansas right next to them. Okay. Yes, they'll get more money. Yes, it'll get more exposure. Yes, it'll get them even more access to more talent because they're in the SEC. But if you're Lincoln Riley and you're looking around going, okay, we're making a move into this league, who would I rather be the captain of which ship? Would I rather be the captain of the Oklahoma ship or the LSU ship? And depending on who you are, the LSU ship may look better. It's probably going to be able to pay more money, but it's also beyond that. It's looking around geographically and saying, where do I want to be to have the best chance of success long term? Because the landscape is going to change drastically for Oklahoma. And gone are the days, Tommy, of it's a given you're going 11-1, which is what we're at right now.
Yeah, no, and that's a decision Lincoln Riley would have to make if LSU, is in hot pursuit of him. I mean, I read an article last night. There's a rumor about an extension for Mel Tucker at Michigan State. Well, he's got a better chance to get to the playoff at Michigan State than he would LSU. So would Lincoln Riley over at Oklahoma, even though the Big 12 struggled with the playoff thing. So, it's just what he wants to do. But coaches think they can do it. Okay, I'm going to tell you a true story about a guy that won a game last night. When Tim Rebo, as you know, an old teammate of mine, you know Timmy well, when he took the Nichols job, I asked him in person, face-to-face, Tim, why would you want that job? They've been like 1-23 the last couple of years. He said, because I can make a difference. Now, that was kind of going back home from him, being from Norco and all of that. And look what he's done. He's done remarkable things with that program. Beat Southeastern last night over in Strawberry Stadium, 45-42. But aside from that, he has had tremendous success with that football team. And when he got there, it was in pieces. LSU's not in pieces. If somebody can come in to LSU, and I know Tony Aco is asking, we got some things here. Yeah, I think no, I don't think Lane Kiffin's off the list at all. And, again, we're going to have our list tomorrow. But, it's what does Lincoln Riley want? And I don't think there's a coach out there that wouldn't want to coach at LSU. You're the flagship school. Michigan State's got Michigan. They're always going to be Michigan's little brother. Oklahoma's got Oklahoma State, the big rivalry, the Bedlam game, the whole bit. LSU, you're the kingpin. You're the kingpin, and there's a lot of talent. High school football in Louisiana is as good as it gets, especially per capita around the country. Per capita, Louisiana's got more guys in the NFL than any other state. Now, there's states with more people and have more guys in the league. But per capita, Louisiana is a football hotbed. And people like Lincoln Riley and Tucker and Kiffin, these guys know that.
By the way, Tony asking about you guys think Kiffin is off the list. I would say this. I agree with Tommy that no, at this point, I don't think anybody is per se off the list. The concern with Lane Kiffin is clearly there's a lot of excitement and a lot of interest in Lane Kiffin, and what he's doing at Ole Miss is fantastic. And what he did at Alabama as the offense coordinator, he really transformed what their offense looked like under Nick Saban and what it became, brought him to the modern era, and they just took off, and the rest is history. It's just that would Scott Woodward would the athletic department at LSU want to – when you hire a guy like Lane Kiffin, you're kind of holding your breath a lot, right? Like, what is he going to tweet? What is he going to say? What is he going to do? How's he going to act? Is he going to embarrass us in any way? Yeah, we're going to win games and we're going to recruit, but he may do it in an oogie way or a way that you might necessarily not want. And so that's the concern with him. Maybe Lane Kiffin, Tommy, isn't necessarily the first choice. Maybe you get to a Lane Kiffin if you can't get your top 5 or 6 or something like that, and you eventually get to him because he's the best of the rest type of deal.
A little press conference with Orgeron and Woodward used specifically the words, the search for the next championship football coach begins immediately. He said, he didn't say football coach, he said championship football coach. I think Lane Kiffin could win a national championship at LSU. And I'll say, this is going to sound mean, but if Ed Orgeron can win one, I know Lane Kiffin can win one. Right. So if they really think he can win a national championship or an SEC championship, they'll worry about the other stuff. Now, one of the reasons Orgeron, the other side of your story, one of the reasons Orgeron's not returning, because of all the Twitter stuff and the thing in Grand Isle and the gas station story. And, there's lots of things that probably made Woodward and some other people a little uncomfortable. But that's what you get nowadays. I think players make these people more uncomfortable than coaches. And that's not to say Woodward wouldn't say, all right, look, if you're going to be the coach, we don't need any of the following, and give him a list. And if Kiffin says, I'm in, because I think Kiffin, Ole Miss has never been to the SEC championship game. Never. Not once. Kiffin knows that. He knows he's got a better chance of success at LSU.
Well, I definitely think that Lane Kiffin is a heck of a coach. It'd be a fun story if he ended up in Baton Rouge. I'm not one that's against it. I think it's a roll the dice type of deal. Hey, the bottom line is you can get rid of coaches in a year or two anyway if you don't like them. That's the new way. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But what I'm curious, and we'll find out after the fact, right? You get all this information on the search after the fact of how it goes about. But I would love to see a Stephanie Remp and a Scott Woodward who are making these hire is to line them up, 1 through 10, and almost like you and I are doing, right? Like, hey, I've got my list, you've got your list, and then you go investigate. You have conversations with their agents, you have conversations with them, and maybe your 1 through 10 changes after those conversations, right? Maybe what I perceived as my 1 through 10 that order gets jumbled after I get to know them and get to hear more about them and dig in a little bit. That's fine. And then you make your offer, right? And then you make it in that pecking order. Scott and Stephanie would get together and say, okay, who do you like first? Okay, I like this guy. All right, we agree. Who's second? And then you just simply go down the list. And I hope they do it that way as opposed to just trying to figure out who they can get. A sleeper for me, Tommy, is Dave Aranda. I think as all the noise goes on with all the other people around, and there's steady Dave right in the middle who's just kind of quietly going about his business, winning games. He's already been in Baton Rouge, already has the connections to the high schools, already has he could plug and play right away. Is he the sexiest pick of them all? Absolutely not. But I think as all these other things go on, you go after Lincoln Riley, you go after Dabo Sweeney, you go after this guy or that guy. But if you can't, Dave Aranda might be your safety fallback valve.
Could very well be. And again, it's, I guess Jay Johnson wasn't a sexy pick. Everybody was talking about Bianco and Kevin O'Sullivan and Godwin because he'd been here and, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden it's Jay Johnson. So, yeah, and again, he hadn't coached a game yet, but I think he's going to do tremendous. I really do. I expect him to do that. I really think he will.
Chance might be related to Billy Napier because he brings him up just about every show. Might not excite fans, but he would interview really well.
Well, he's got a decent resume. Oh, if they don't interview him, they're crazy. I think he's got to be looked at. He's been at Clemson. He's been at Bama. He knew he had a good team at ULL, and it turned out to be correct when he didn't leave a couple of years ago. And he's making $2 million now. Whoever's making $2 million, why wouldn't you want to make 8 or 9?
You mentioned the Southeastern Nichols game. For those folks that were fortunate enough to be there or maybe watched it on the ESPN Plus app, what a great game it was. Back and forth, 45-42, Nichols wins. Southeastern missed the 44-yard field goal at the horn, and really. So on paper, Southeastern looked like they might be the better team last night, but
they were a 7-point favorite.
Yeah,
I bet the game. I bet the Lions. I'd say that.
I think Nichols knocked them out. I think Nichols knocked them out of the playoffs. Tommy, I think they're 8-3. Yeah. I believe is Southeastern's record now.
They got to wait for an at-large bid, and they're going to be definitely a bubble there, and that's going to depend on what some other teams around the country do or don't do this weekend. So they can't really control their own destiny. But no, my son was at the game and he texted me a picture from his seat. Southeastern got to figure out a way to draw fans. How come on a Thursday night you're playing Nichols, the River Belt Classic, perfect football weather, and they can't put a couple thousand people at the game?
Right.
That's just unfortunate for those players and those coaches. And I'm sure Nichols brought a few fans their side, had a decent number of people, but all in all, Southeastern got Cole Kelly. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's going to get drafted. I don't know what round, but he's going to be drafted. He's a Lafayette kid who went to Arkansas and ended up in Hammond. But no, it was a big win for Nichols to put them to 6-5. They're not going to be in the playoffs, but Coach Rebo continues to do good things there. And look, Coach Selfo's done a great job with Southeastern. He's gotten enough guys out the transfer portal and enough JUCO guys that they're an upper level FCS team.
Yeah, that was a big loss last night because Southeastern would have been 7-1 and been at worst place, tied for number one in the Southland Conference. Instead, they're 6-2. They'll finish second in the league most likely. 8-3 overall. But you mentioned the Cole Kelly kid, who's about 6'7", I think, or something like that. He last night, Tommy, 36 of 47 throwing the football for 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. In that game, and on the season, his numbers are crazy. He's got a 76.6% completion percentage. Well, that was what he was last night. Over 4,000 yards passing on the year, 38 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions on the whole season. You talk about a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Better than that. That's outstanding. Over 4,000 yards and those kind of numbers. I mean, no doubt he's going to be in a pro camp.
Oh, he was the player of the year in the FCS last year, and he's going to might win it again, or he's going to be in the top couple getting votes. And, he's a 3rd, 4th round draft pick, I believe, unless somebody just falls in love with him and grabs him in the 2nd round. Got to go to the right team there. We know that story. But he has been that football team. Now, obviously, they give up too many points, and they haven't been able to finish a few games, but it's a good football team. I wish more people would go to the games. Maybe next year that'll happen.
Yeah, Southeastern Lions, maybe they need to bring Bob Mafus back as an assistant coach. They gave up over 500 yards of offense, almost 300.
No, that one Guggenheim, who I've seen play, that running back for Nichols, he had like 240 yards rushing.
Yeah,
Boom, that's end of game.
LSU women's basketball, big win on the road. Kim Mulkey, after losing a game, they go take care of the UL Raging Cajuns. They had a giant second quarter. They were up like 30-13 at halftime or something in front of 2,500 at the Cajun Dome. They got back on the winning streak, and Will Wade continuing to roll.
Will Wade, they play Belmont Monday. I anticipate they should win that game, but he continues to win basketball games. And he does a little better with the media now than he used to. He used to be kind of standoffish. Now I think he's doing a lot better. He's more comfortable. Everybody knows him, and he knows the media guys who cover it on a daily basis. I'm not on that list, but no, it's you got 2 more football games, and if they don't go get bowl eligible, of course, a lot of attention will be on who's the new coach. The early signing period on December 15, but don't snooze on men's and women's basketball at LSU. They're both gearing up to have very exciting seasons.
Yeah, 3 players in double digits last night. Days had 14, didn't shoot it really well. Terry Eason, the sophomore from Los Angeles, he was the leading scorer for the Tigers. He had 19. Gaines had 10. Only 3 players in double digits. They basically doubled up McNeese. The question just becomes, when's the shoe going to drop on Will Wade? This is really an incredible story for LSU basketball because, it's like we are all, as fans and administration, they're just sticking their head in the sand going, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You got to expect that maybe during this season the shoe is going to drop. We know the investigation is wrapping up with the NCAA. Something's going to come out here and it's not going to be good. It may not be terrible, but it's not going to be good. They're not going to come out and say, oh, nothing. We investigated and there's nothing. That's not happening.
No, and the timing of this is going to be something to keep an eye on, too. Let's say he's leading the Southeastern Conference or he's in the top 2 or 3 teams and clearly going to be a tournament team. Then the shoe drops. Boom, that'd be a punch in the gut like 10 times. Maybe they wait till May to drop the shoe, regardless of what basketball team, how far they play, or how long they play into the tournament or whatever. So it's definitely a cloud that's not going to go away. You're right, Ronnie. Sooner or later, that word's going to come down the pipe.
Tommy, tell us about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
Well, you got the lunch special today, fried catfish with crawfish etouffee. Tons of orders in for Thanksgiving. You got to call them if you want to get something in right now. Go to Facebook, get the phone number. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. I'll be over here next Thursday morning when people are picking stuff up. Got all the side dishes, the desserts, and fried rotisserie or smoked turkey. They got it all for you. Tremontis.com. They got the menu online. Just click the seasonal tab, and we'll be back out here Monday, and we'll update you on everything. But you really, if you haven't placed an order yet, you need to get it in. That book is filling up fast.
Big 12 publicly reprimanded Texas Tech football radio announcers. They're removed from calling the game this week because they were critical of the officiating.
I listened to it. They went over the line, but everything they said was probably a fair question. They were like, the commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, like, Commissioner, are you proud of this? Clearly you don't want Iowa State to lose this game. There were comments like that, or this is embarrassing for this conference. I mean, they pushed the envelope over the line. No language or anything like that, but there was some calls that when you see the call, you're like, okay, they didn't handle it maybe correctly, but I think they made a statement loud enough, got the Big 12's attention. How many radio crews have been suspended? Think about that. I mean, so, and it's like, because the Big 12 knows they were correct. I don't know about Big 12 wanting Iowa State to win, but the atrocious calls and just, the commissioner, you got, and on top of that, Ron, I don't know if you saw this, I forgot to mention this to you, but Sean Payton went on the Dan Patrick show and ripped the officiating, saying it starts at the top. And then that spurred the whole conversation about full-time officials, which I'd like you and I to make a note. I want to talk about that full-time official thing in the NFL maybe one day next week. And I know our schedule may change because of Thanksgiving, but we can't let that topic go away. But Peyton got national mention with the comments he made. He basically said it starts at the top. And, that means Roger Goodell. And, of course, Goodell suspended him and costed him $8 million. So, we all know that story. But the radio crew from Texas Tech has to not call the game. I wonder if they can go, but they can't call the game. And that's just the Big 12 saying, hey, what you said was probably right, but we can't let you say that.
Yeah, we'll get into it tomorrow on Sports Church Radio. 11 o'clock, Tommy will join us on Sports Church Radio tomorrow, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I do want to talk, Tommy, about the officiating thing because, look, these guys, even though it's part-time, they make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. If you're an official in the NFL, why not make them full-time?
Well, and it goes back to the way that the sports betting is exploding. And the NFL has partnered with all the different organizations that encourage betting, So because of that, that's the reason they got to go full-time. It ain't about do they have the money. They got to go full-time. Then they got to have almost like a minor league, guys that can work some exhibition games. Work some exhibition games, go to practice on Wednesday when the teams are going through stuff and throw flags. You really got to develop a better system. And then they got to clean up replay. And again, that's all.
Well, the other thing too, Tommy, as a fan, if you're watching games and you've got 80 camera angles and slow-mos and super slow-mos and replays and rewinds and everything else, then you can't have technology but not use it.
Point.
And if the fans at home have more information than the officials on the field, that's a problem. And that's where we're at right now. And they've got to figure out a system. And I'm not saying I know what the solution is right now because, again, I'm not a fan of stopping a game every 5 minutes. But there has to be a system in place that says, whoa, that was egregiously wrong.
That wasn't a blow to the head like what happened in the Saints game. That should not have been. I mean, no way that's a penalty.
Or pass interference where, they thought the guy touched him, but then when you see the replay, they tripped up each other's feet. It wasn't pass interference. But those things need to be made instantaneous. They should just be able to be an earpiece thing in the referee where they call down and go, we're reversing that. That was the wrong call. And it just happens. It doesn't need to be challenged, doesn't need to stop and run over to a monitor. It just needs to be the eye in the sky, 3 officials or something in the booth. They make that call.
Put an Apple Watch on and send them a text that says that was not a blow to the head. I mean, use the technology that you have. I mean, I'm like you. When they start doing replays every second or third play, it gets a little bit, oogie, to steal your word. But I think, the bottom line is get the call right. And if it takes 10 minutes to get it right, I think both coaches would want that.
He's Tommy and Ronnie. Check out Sports Rush Daily tomorrow from 10 to noon. Yes.
Don't forget Hold the Rope Radio Sunday night. Skip Burtman, Dan Canterbury, myself, Rooster Southall will be our guests, 7 to 9 on 104.5 ESPN Radio Baton Rouge. Do check it out.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Tigers, big giant favorite And
One thing about that line hasn't moved, and it's not going to because nobody's betting the game. We told the people the other day, don't bet it. They're listening because there's very little money on this game.
By the way, Saints are an underdog. Alvin Kamara questionable on whether he plays against the Eagles. That'll affect the line. So pay attention to that this week to try to find. I would even wait to place the bet until Sunday morning when you know if he's going to play or not.
Sunday morning we'll have it all at meatandpotatoesusa.com.
He's Tommy and Ronnie. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks to LeBear's Casino and their sportsbook open 20